is a data set of student workers, and we are using those tour guides and attaching them to our events. And then the data of the tour guide is going to populate content blocks, conditional logic. We'll have exports that compare those data points with the visitor to find those related pieces to talk about, or just information to talk to other folks about. We've already built the data set. I'm not going to do that on the live video. And we have our form built to add new records. So we're just going to do a new registration. Let's just go. Is this form? Why is this not taking my text? I don't know why that's read-only. Okay, see, already breaking stuff. Here we go. New registration. David major, we'll just do biology. Favorite class is accounting 101. And I'm just going to go ahead and submit that. Yeah, that's fine. We also have our campus tour over here, and I have a couple of test records already added to it. And this is clean slate, so this is just whatever is populated in the missions showcase version of the clean slate. Then one of these students is going to match. Actually, I don't know if let's edit this, make sure that these all have majors. So we're going to give David biology major, and we're going to give David a chemistry major. So when we do that logic, or chemistry, yeah, it'll show up for one, and then we'll get slightly different text for the other. So I've already started this tour guide autoresponder email here, and it's just Anvil Ridge University. So we're going to add some text here eventually, but let's start working on this recipient list. Now we have a couple options. I'm doing this in Deliver. You could do this as template communications, but if you're having this across multiple templates or multiple types, you might want to just have this as a Deliver that you can work with. But totally your flying monkeys because it's your circus. So we'll just do, what's a good name for this? Or attendees. And then we can do a related, we can just do form responses. Because we're going to send one email to everyone who attends our campus tour. It has to be coming from the tour guide that was associated with their event, which I should probably add here. So if you haven't used related records, so we're in our campus tour here, and we have our related records. You can do any data set that's in Slate. So this is org contacts, this is your users. We created that tour guide data set. So I'm just going to go, oh, there we go. It's probably just under the org contacts. So there we go. So we have our tour guide finally added 6 minutes into a video. That should have been in the first 45 seconds. So we have our tour guide associated with this event. And so that is kind of weird as you kind of get used to building the joins for this, but we'll go over that in probably relatively decent detail. But we do have to get going because I'm hoping this video is only going to be an hour long, but I feel like it's going to be longer than that. But I suppose we'll find out. Okay, so we have our recipient list here, and this is just form responses. So we can start tying this down to, let's go template. I think that was just, what kind of event was that? Yeah, just a campus tour. Slate University campus tour. And probably want to do status for the registration to be just attended. Be weird to say, hey, it was great talking to you about X, Y, and Z if they didn't come to the event. But you could also use this as a secondary drip campaign for the folks who weren't able to come. And said like, oh, I would have been your tour guide. Let me reach out if you ever need to like reschedule or whatever it could be that you might want to do. So I think we can do some joins here that go from form response to the person who is signing up for the form response. And application 2. I don't know if we'll get into it, but there is some like application call to actions. Now, when we're doing a related record, we are going to join to that related record from the form, but we're also going to need to join to each data point separately that lives on that tour guide data set, which is a little bit more time consuming, unfortunately, but it's a one-time lift. So I think the lift is a little bit tedious, but you're really going to get a lot of power and flexibility with a project like this. So I think it's okay, but I guess you might not think so. And then there's 2 other related record projects on this recording. So you can choose from those as well. So related records, data set row. So we're getting to that tour guide that's on there. And then we're just going to add a filter. Now, you do have a few filters. That's not a lot. Like I said, you actually have to be joining to like the field values to get those things. But you can do data sets. So like I said, you had several options for the different types of data sets that could be added as a related record. So if you're doing other things on that event, which we'll talk about in a little bit, like parking instructions or check-in location, stuff like that, you do want to make sure that you're only pulling the tour guide and not like this event details. So we're going to do tour guide. Make that our base. I mean, if you're doing multiple tour guides, then you can start getting into like sorts and stuff like that, but or some kind of other functionality, another like marker to indicate. But I think we're fine with this for now. So we have just attendees to these events, and we also want to make sure that we're not sending this email if there just isn't a tour guide related record, because that's not going to be great. So we can just say exists tour guide. Yeah, I mean, we could say related record. Try to be as clear as possible with these things. And we can just say name. So we have our related records tour guide. I think I might have turned off cursor tracking on this on my live streams because I was doing it inside the funnel, and I don't remember how to turn cursor tracking back on. But I'm sorry, you probably can't see my cursor while I do this, but that's okay. We'll get through this together. Life needs a little perseverance. Okay, so there is no one marked as attended, so we're going to go ahead and launch check-in and say both of these folks came. Then we can conclude the event. Oop, as I hit cancel. So I'm going to pop back over here. So now we should have 2 records. So we're going to need things like email for the person. Let's see, preferred. I'm assuming we have that. We have 2 preferreds. Interesting. Let's go academic interest. Oh, I think it's called major attendance. Yeah. And I think that's probably all we're going to have time for on there. And now, so we do have to do like individual, like there isn't necessarily like when you do these exports. So I'm just going to pull into this tour guide here. So there's not like, so you could have 20 fields here, but you don't have those fields available here. So let's do a join field value. Field value there, and then for our field value ID. Oh goodness, what were those field value ID names that we had over here? Tour guide major. That makes sense. I probably could have remembered that if I thought about it for a minute, but I didn't because we are live. So we can just say this is a tour guide field major. We had favorite class too. Yeah, let's do favorite class. So now we can pull these data points into our exports up here and do additional like filters and comparison exports and things like that to actually have access to this data now. And we can do name too. Yeah, it's fine. We're not going to get that detailed right now. So we're going to, and now each one of, so we have our main, like actual tour guide here. And then we have our individual fields. So we can, I mean, what we want is the prompt value that exists inside of the field. So we can just add those. There we go. And then we do want to do at least one comparison, I think, just so we can filter off of if the student and the tour guide and the attendee of the tour have the same major. And we're going to just kind of write some logic, like some conditional logic, liquid looping. I always called it conditional logic, but liquid looping in our email to kind of display one paragraph versus the other based off of if it's the same or not. So we're just going to say this is the same majors. And we're going to do an existence export. So I like to do ones and zeros. You can do yes, no. Try to be consistent with whatever kind of like, whatever your policy practice is. Just hopefully everyone's on the same page of ones, zeros, yes, nos, or however your office kind of conceptually thinks of these existence exports, because it's nice to be able to write the same logic or like copy and paste logic across emails or content blocks, or just conceptually at a glance, just be able to get up to speed of what you're doing. If someone doesn't have that kind of framework that like a 1-0 is like a binary or a flag or a yes, no, it's not very intuitive, but it's nice. It's numeric. It's fewer characters on a yes, no, or a YN is the same number of characters. But again, my brain conceptually just thinks of it as like a 1-0. But try to keep it consistent across everyone in your office, across all projects, because that's going to just make everyone's life a lot easier. So I'm going to go major. So we have our person's major and we have our tour guide field major value. And we're just going to do that prompt value again. And the comparison is basically just saying if these two fields are the same, then they meet the filter criteria. If they're different, then they don't meet the filter criteria, and that means they does not exist. But since we do have one person out of our two who have the same majors, there is one matching row and they'll get a 1. The person who does not have a matching major will get a 0. So we're just going to pop back over to the tour guide autoresponder, and we can edit this. And when it comes to the messaging, let's see, let me pull up what I did have written here. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste this because I think that's going to make this go a bit faster. And we'll do the logic in a second. So I remember being in your shoes, trying to picture what's studying, and then this is going to be a paragraph for the people with the same major, and we're just going to change this. Major. Basically just like yes, it's a major, amazing opportunity. I don't think we're going to do the coalesce today too. We're so full tonight. And then the second paragraph is going to be for people who don't have the same major. So even though I'm majoring in my major, I get to collaborate with people in your major all the time. One of the best things about Stevens is how connected everything is. So we can just kind of write some logic here. And we're just going to do an if statement. So if that same major equals 1. Equals 1. So, and I'm going to kind of cheat this a little bit, because if this paragraph is not true, then I want to show this paragraph. And I could write two if statements, like if the same major is yes or 1, show this, end my logic. And then if same major is not 1, then show this. But we can also just write a little else statement. And you do like an else if you have like 2 or 3 conditions or criteria, but like they need to get one of these 2 paragraphs. So there's no need to necessarily write separate if statements. It's either this first paragraph or it's the second paragraph. So if this criteria is not met, then you're just going to show everybody this paragraph here. And like you might need like additional line breaks or however you're formatting your delivery here. So you can see I'm getting that second record right now because I'm majoring in biology. I collaborate with people in chemistry all the time. And you could make, again, like a third condition of like, oh, okay, these majors do collaborate or these majors don't. So we're going to get like a third paragraph. I feel like if I refresh this a few times, I should get somebody. Yeah, here we go. So, and then this is going to the person where they have the same majors. So we're just in the, and you could like, a content block and like link this, or you could have a translation code of like the biology URL. So people could click that and get like the biology page. Translation code is probably the easiest unless you have like a really standard boilerplate paragraph and you want to have like nice formatting that doesn't necessarily fit into your template, or you just have different types of URLs for different situations. But there's a lot you can do with this. I think that's probably enough to kind of work on this tour guide autoresponder. Like I said, May 11th, I'm doing a show and tell on this with Slate and a few other folks doing other things. So definitely join me for that. I think we can move on to our next project, which is going to be
remain. Rare keeps working after the flame.